see. Hello, hello. I'm going to share my screen. Well, maybe. Here we go. All right, close. Okay, all right. At the top, you're going to be able to see that you can ask Q&A, and there's a polling, and then there's also where you can raise your hand. So if you can hear me and you can see me and you can see the presentation, can you raise your hand? Can you push the raise your hand button? Okay, yay. Okay. All right, Laura, Vicky, Melanie. Oh, Mr. Dixon, yay, Teresa. Awesome. I'm so glad that y'all are all here to join me tonight. Great. Well, we're going to give it just a couple more minutes and allow everyone to get on. Oh, hi, Miss Marianne. So, like I said, if you have any questions, don't hesitate. You are turned off. So I don't know if any of y'all have done this webinar before. It's a little bit different than like a Zoom meeting. Y'all can only see and hear me and see my presentation. I can see that you are on, but I can't hear you or see you. So at the top where it says Q&A, if you click on that, you can ask me a question. And then there's also a chat button. So if you want to chat with everyone, you can tell that you want everyone to see this. And then if you have a question, there's also where you can raise your hand. And let's see what else that I need to tell you. The polling. As I go through and ask questions, I'm going to use the polling option. So I'll click on that, and then it should come up on your screen where you can answer the questions. So that way we can participate and try to make this a little bit more interactive and a little bit more fun. I did my first one a couple of weeks ago, and it went really well. It's still kind of weird me sitting here in the office, you know, talking to my computer and not having, you know, real people. So I think this is a little bit better than what I did last year, because at least we can have some interactions. You can ask questions, you can participate. And I will be recording this and posting it to, hopefully it's recording now. And I will post this to the YouTube channel. So for those that were not able to get on, we'll be able to watch it. And you can also share it with other people that maybe work with you or for you if they need some extra training hours. So I'm really glad that y'all are all here. Let me see who's all, I can see the names of everyone that's listed. We've got, yay. So if you just got on, if you would raise your hand so that I know that you can see me and you can hear me and you can see the presentation, I can, and then thank you. Let me go to mark, see who's on here. Miss Vicky, Miss Teresa, Laura, your name's up. Laura Cagle, okay. Miss Marianne. Leanne, can you tell me which home you're with? You could tell me in the chat or in the Q&A. Either way, just let me know which home you're with so I can give you credit. Miss Gwen. Teresa Ritchie. Let's see, who else do we have? Miss Melanie. Patricia. I'll have your name on here. Teresa, wait, I got it. Let's see who's left. And the Dixons. Miss Donna, Mr. William. All right, let's see if we've got. See Janet, she's not on. So there's like 3 or 4 more that said that they were going to be here. So we'll give it just a minute. Let's see, what time is it? Awesome. Oh, do I need your PDR number? That would be great if you would like to just type that on here, or you can email it to me. My email is nicole@ar-children.com, and I'll put that in the chat. Nicole@ar-children.com. If your number is the same as last year, I bet that Melissa has it where she can give it to me. And what I'm going to do, the PDR is just kind of difficult to use. So what I'm going to do is when this is over, I will create just one and I will give y'all all credit. Okay. And you will get 3 hours of credit for this tonight. I don't expect it to take 3 hours unless y'all start asking, lots of questions. But if I have you for 3 hours, so I want to give you 3 hours of credit for tonight, and then y'all are required to have 4 hours of training every year. And as I go through the training tonight, I want to give you some other ideas of how we can facilitate that extra hour this year. I have lots of different ideas of what we can do. So I'll talk more about that as we go on. So is everyone good? Can everyone hear me? Can everyone see me? Can everyone see the presentation on their screen? And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to raise your hand. Okay, thank you. So Leanne, you're with Miss Sharon. Awesome. Thank you so much for telling me that. And let me write your name down because this will go away when I log off. So I want to make sure I have all of your information. And 2935 and 1, 2. Teresa. 50. Give me just a minute. Okay, go. 5, 3. Go ahead and jot these down and give people just another moment to get on. I think that there's like 2 people that signed up. 5058. And all right, looks good. Thank y'all so much. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to lower all your hands. And then, like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, to try to get my attention, ask on the Q&A portion, or you can chat. And the chat is, oops, I'm not ready to do that yet. I'm trying to get logged in on my computer. It will let me in if I'm already on my phone. Yes, it should. You should be able to do it on any device. So your phone, your iPad, your computer, whatever you have. And yes, it should let you do it on multiple devices at the same time. All right. Okay, so we're going to kick off the training this evening with a poll to get to know, get our brains thinking about food safety. So we're going to be talking about food safety. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch a poll at the top here. And the question is, what is the most dangerous food? And we're going to come back to the answer later in the training. So what I want you to do is it should come up. I'm going to launch this poll, and then I want you to click on your answer. What do you think is the most dangerous food? Do you think it's chicken, fish, pork, are leftovers. So I will give y'all a moment to do that, and go ahead and click on what you believe is the answer. And like I said, later on in the training, we'll talk more about it. And I'm sorry if I didn't introduce myself. My name is Nicole Harris. I think that I know all of you. I am the trainer here for Arkansas Children. And I'm so excited that we have a new office and we have a training room, but unfortunately with COVID, we haven't been able to meet in person. Hopefully we will soon. Here's my training room. So isn't it? It's so nice. I was so excited to finally have a place to hold trainings, and I haven't been able to have any live ones, just like one-on-ones I've had, but not very many. So very good. Let's see. Everyone has answered the poll. So just remember what your answer is, and we'll come back to that later. Okay, so I'm going to end that and close that. And y'all just bear with me. Yes, I can put Willie. Yes, Marianne, I'll put both of y'all on here. Johnson. There you go. I wrote his name down too. Thank you. Y'all just have to bear with me because this is really new to me too. And then looking at all the different things on my screen and my notes. Okay, so let me go to the next one. Oh, what happened? There we go. There we go. So we just did the poll. All right. So let's review tonight's agenda. We're going to welcome an introduction to food safety. We will be talking about the required elements of CACFP that we talk about every year. We are going to talk about some of the civil rights. Why do some foods make us sick? And keeping food safe from farm to fork. Okay, so these are some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. This is a copy of the agenda, which you should have received in an email from Melissa. If you didn't, it's fine. You can just shoot, if you want to shoot me an email or Melissa an email, and we can get it to you tomorrow. But this is a copy of the agenda and everything that we're going to talk about tonight. Okay. As we go through the workshop, you will note that the audio and the video function have been disabled for the training. If you're new to Zoom or haven't attended a Zoom webinar before, please note that there's both the Q&A function and the chat function. So we've kind of already talked about that. We'll be using the chat box throughout the training to interact with one another. So the chat one is the best one if you want everyone to see. And you can tell that you want all of the panel. I'm the panelist, so if you just want me to see it, say panelist. If you want the panelists and the attendees to see it, then click on that. And that way everyone will be able to see it. Oops, I clicked. And I will do my best as we go through, if y'all have questions, to stop and answer those questions. And well, like I said, we'll do lots of polls, and I highly encourage all of you to participate. And I don't have any built-in breaks tonight. So please make sure that you take care of yourself as you need it. And like I said, if you miss anything, the training will be uploaded to the YouTube channel, hopefully, if I recorded it correctly. So then after the webinar is over, you will have your checklist that will serve as your attendance for tonight's training. And that I will need a copy sent back to the office, either send it to me or send it to Melissa. And that way we can print that off and go into your file that you've received your required yearly training. I use the same one that I've used every year. It looks just like this. Melissa should have emailed that to you. It should be in a PDF fillable, so that way you can just click yes on everything and then just sign it and send it back. Remember that everything on this list I'm not going to talk about tonight because I wanted to talk about some more things like about food safety and try to talk about some new things that we haven't talked about lately. But if you have any questions about anything on this list, please ask. Okay, please shoot me an email. You can ask in the Q&A. I just want to make sure that when you leave here tonight that you don't have any questions about participating in the food program. Most of you have been with us for years, so all of this is, second nature. You've got it all down. So if you would, please make sure and fill that out and send that back, and that will be your count as your attendance, and that will go in your file that you've received your yearly training. Now, for those of you who are watching this on YouTube, I would ask that you do the same thing, but then also I'm going to email you a Q&A, and I'd like for you to fill out the Q&A and send that in. So that way I know that you at least attempted to watch my video and you didn't just fill out the questionnaire. So please send that in as well, and we will email those out to you. Okay, let's see. And my objective for this training is, after completing this training, participants will list 3 food safety practices that reduce the risk of contamination or foodborne illnesses. And then my other objective that I have every year is just to go ahead to make sure that you understand all of the requirements to participate into the food program, and just make sure you don't have any questions about participating. Okay. In the past, we've talked about many different foods that benefit multiple systems and parts of our bodies, especially foods like vegetables and fruits and lean meats, fish and dairy products. Unfortunately, many of these same very nutritious foods can also make us sick if they're not handled or cooked properly. So children are especially vulnerable to foodborne illnesses because their immune systems aren't fully developed, and they have a harder time fighting off germs that cause disease. Now, does this mean we should only be serving prepackaged, shelf-stable foods to our kids and never buy anything fresh or minimally processed? Of course not. No. As childcare providers, you ensure the health and safety of the children in your care by making sure your home is a safe environment. That means that even the food you serve have a huge influence on the quality has a huge influence on the quality of the foods that are served in your home. What do you think of when you hear the phrase food safety? Think about that. Take a minute and share with us what food safety means to you. So I've got the chat open, and you can chat. You can just type in, what do you think food safety means to you? Anybody? Let's see. Eating healthy, very good. Anyone else? What does food safety mean to you? Protecting our children, very good, protecting our children. So this training will teach you common sense, practical ways to keep food safe and reduce the risk that you and your children will become sick, okay? So before we dive into our food safety portion of the training, we're going to review our CACFP required training topics and civil rights. We're going to play a matching game here. So I'll ask a question, and you'll see the question appear on the slide, and then you'll select the answer that you think is correct using the poll feature, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the question, and here's the question. And the question is, blank and blank must be completed daily by the end of the day. All right, so then I'm going to launch a poll. Second question, launch a poll. Okay, now if you will select the answer. Is it calendar and menu and meal counts, or attendance and claims? So I'll give you a second to do that. Here we go. Very good. Blank and blank must be completed daily by the end of the day. Calendar and menu and meal count, or attendance and claim? Very good. Looks like the most of you got that correct. So I want to end the poll and close that. And the correct answer is B. Menu and meal count. Menu and meal count must be kept on site for review by AR Children, state agency, or USDA. So very good. Scooch this over. Okay. The next one, CACFP regulations require child enrollment forms to be updated when? So we'll launch the poll. Number 3. Is it annually, daily, or never? CACFP regulations require child enrollment forms to be updated annually, daily, or never. Very good. Y'all all got that correct. It's annually. In the poll. Very good. Child enrollment forms and child enrollments updates must be kept on file in the child care provider's home. Meals are not reimbursable until a copy of each child's enrollment form has been sent to AR Children's office. Very good. And this is what the enrollment form looks like. One thing I want to point out is make sure that when you list the names of the kids, that the names match. So whatever you're putting on your attendance form is the same name that is on your enrollment form. So it makes this makes it much easier for Melissa to figure out that if we have an enrollment form on every child. Also, I like to point out that when the parent signs it and dates it at the bottom, it's valid for 1 year from that date. You make sure that you go through and double check, make sure it's all correct to the best of your knowledge, and then you're going to initial it and date it in that box in the upper right-hand corner. And let's see, anything else? So just as soon as you initial it and date it, you're going to send us a copy of it, and then you're going to file the original in your records. And remember, every year we need a new one, but you also need to keep them for 5 years plus the year that we're working on. Okay. Any questions about that? If you do, you can raise your hand. You can ask a question on the Q&A. We good? Okay. All right. The next form is the obligation to serve infant form. This is what it looks like. Remember that we must have an obligation to serve infant form on every infant in your care. An infant is 0 to 12 months of age. You're required to offer how many types of formula? 1. That's right. We have to do 1 type of formula. It must be iron fortified infant formula. Okay, so you need to make sure that you list the type or types of formula that you're offering. It's fine to offer more, but you're required to offer at least 1. Okay, and then that parent needs to accept or decline the formula that you're offering, and then accept and or decline the meals and snacks once they're around 6 months of age. And we're going to talk more about when to start introducing solid foods. But once they're about 6 months of age, they would be on iron fortified infant cereal and fruits and vegetables. Okay. Are there any questions about this form? It needs to be signed by the parent, and you need to have a copy in your home, and then send Melissa a copy for your file here. And you only have to do this 1 time because it's just good for that first year of life. So any questions about this one? No Q&A, no hands. Okay. Moving on. Remember that a medical statement, if there's any time that a parent wants you to substitute because of a dietary need, the parent must provide a medical statement from a baby's healthcare provider. The medical statement must include the following: names of the foods to be avoided, explanation of how the foods affect the baby, and signature of the baby's healthcare provider on the form. In the past, we've accepted just a note from the doctor, and that's still okay. We would the state would prefer that you use their form, and this is what it looks like. Looks just like this. If you need a copy of this, if you don't have a copy of it, we've given it out the past few years, but if you need a copy of it, just let us know and we can send this to you. The reason that this one is really nice is because it does kind of outline everything that I just talked about, and it tells you the healthcare provider can say the foods to be omitted, and then it can give you some suggestions of what to substitute. Now, remember, if the child just needs to be on a soy-based milk, this form's not required. Just make sure that you are buying a nutritionally equivalent soy-based milk. But for everything else, if any kids want to be on an almond milk, a coconut milk, any of those type milks, we do need the medical statement because they are not nutritionally equivalent to cow's milk. Okay. Are there any questions about the medical statement? And obviously, if it's something that's easy, like they're just allergic to strawberries or something like that, then you just don't serve them, but it's just harder with the milk. And that's why I would say, make sure that you have this medical statement if the parent is wanting something like an almond milk, coconut milk, something like that. Any questions, comments? No. Okay. Moving on. All right, the next question. You're planning to replace a meat or meat alternate for a grain at breakfast today. How many ounces of meat or meat alternate do you need to serve a 4-year-old? Okay, I'm going to launch this poll. Is it 1.5 ounces, 1/2 ounce, or 1 ounce? So y'all can go ahead and pick the answer that you believe is the correct one. If you don't know, just take a guess and then I'll tell you the answer. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Wynn, I missed your questions. These are to be done annually also, the obligation to serve infant or the medical statement. The medical statement, yes, you would want to go ahead. Well, actually, the medical statement, once you have one, you don't have to get that one done again. Does that answer your question? I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. Looks like everyone answered. And most of you said 1 ounce, and some of you said 1.5 ounces. The correct answer is 1/2 ounce. A meat or meat alternate may be substituted for grain at breakfast up to 3 times per week. The minimum portion size is the same for grains and meat or meat alternates at the meal. So they're only required to have a 1/2 ounce. They're only required to have a 1/2 ounce of grain. So they're only required to have a 1/2 ounce of meat or meat alternate for breakfast. Okay. So here's a little bit more information about that. You should have received one of these worksheets about serving meat or meat alternates at breakfast. If you do not have a copy of this and you would like one, just let us know. I actually am going to send a bunch of these sheets out with Amy when she does your next reviews. So she should have copies of this as well. But the top of the worksheet states the requirements for a reimbursable breakfast in the CACFP. A reimbursable breakfast must contain food from these 3 components: a milk, a vegetable, fruit, or both, and a grain. And you can only substitute the meat for a grain. Okay. And here is the requirements for a 3 to 5-year-old and for a 1 to 2-year-old. So some of the suggestions that you could do eggs, ham, turkey, peanut butter, soy butter, yogurt, cheese, cottage cheese, tofu, beans, just to name a few. So here's an example of what's for breakfast for a 3 to 5 year old. They would need 6 ounces of milk, a half a cup of a vegetable or a fruit, and a half of ounce of grain equivalent, or a half ounce of meat or meat alternate. So here you can see that. So you're open all 7 days a week. You can serve a meat or meat alternate in place of grain up to 3 times a week. Here's another example for a 1 to 2 year old. 4 ounces of milk, a fourth a cup of fruit or vegetable, and a half ounce of grain. And this is what it would look like if you wanted to do the meat or meat alternate up to 3 times a week. And a lot of questions too that I get is about, can I have a grain and a meat or meat alternate? Of course you can, yes. So here's a question. If you wanted to serve meat or meat alternate in place of grain at breakfast for a 6 to 12 year old, what is the minimum amount of meat or meat alternate you would serve? If you think it is 8 ounces, raise your hand. If you think it's a half ounce, raise your hand. If it's 1 ounce, raise your hand. Very good, very good. If it's 2 ounces, raise your hand. Very good, okay. So what was the correct answer? The correct answer is 1 ounce. So nice work. You must serve at least 1 ounce equivalent of meat or meat alternate at breakfast for a 6 to 12 year old. If you're serving it in place of a grain as part of a reimbursable breakfast. This is because the minimum of grain is 1 ounce. Okay, very good. I'm going to put all your hands down. Okay. Now let's look a closer look at how much of a certain food makes up a half an ounce equivalent, 1 ounce equivalent, or 2 ounce equivalent of meat or meat alternate. As you can see on the screen, the bottom of the worksheet has a table that lists common meat or meat alternates that might be served at breakfast, such as cheese, eggs, etc. in the far left column. Across the top, you'll find the different age groups for the child and adult meals in the CACFP. And then below, you'll see the minimum serving requirements for those age groups. Okay, so this is a really helpful chart. So if you look at the column that has this, let's see, this red rectangle, you'll see that this column is for the age groups of 1 and 2 and 3 and 5. So if you wanted to give eggs for them, it would just be a fourth egg, large egg per child, and peanut butter, it will be 1 tablespoon per child. The light purple at the top tells you that the minimum serving size for meat and meat alternates for these 2 age group is a half an ounce equivalent. And the information directly below looks like this. Tells you how much of a food is needed to make up the half an ounce equivalent. And so you can see that 1/8 a cup of beans, a half an ounce of natural cheese, 1/8 cup of cottage cheese, etc. 1/4 a cup of yogurt. So here's a little practice. So look at this one. Try it out. You want to serve yogurt at breakfast for your 3 to 5 year old once per week. If you are serving this yogurt in place of your grain, how much yogurt do you need to serve? If you think it's 1/8 of a cup, raise your hand. If you think it's 1/4 of a cup, raise your hand. Very good. If you think it's 1 tablespoon, Raise your hand. And a half of a tablespoon. Raise your hand. Awesome. Very good. So you'll see here that the correct answer is 1/4 a cup. If you want to serve that yogurt in place of a grain as part of your reimbursable breakfast, you need to serve your 3- and 5-year-olds at least 1/4 of a cup or 2 ounces of yogurt. Now, is it okay to serve more? Of course, it's always okay to serve more, but this is the minimum that you want to start with. Okay. I'm going to lower your hands. There we go. Have any questions? Doing good. Okay, we'll keep going. So here's the one for the 6 to 12-year-olds. And they would get, for the 1 ounce equivalent, that's 1/4 a cup of beans, 1 ounce of cheese, 1/4 a cup of cottage cheese, 1/2 of a large egg, 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, and 1/2 a cup of yogurt. Very good. Do we have any questions about serving meat or meat alternates for breakfast? I do highly encourage it. The protein is really good for kids to get their energy up and keep it, instead of giving them lots of sugary stuff for breakfast and then it falling, their blood sugar falling down. So I do highly encourage meat or meat alternates for breakfast. Any questions? Okay. All right. Our next question is, which food may be served to a developmentally ready infant at snack? A is fruits and vegetables. B is crackers, breads, and ready-to-eat breakfast cereals. And C is all of the above. So we're going to do question number 5. I'm going to launch that. Launch that one. So is it fruits and vegetables, crackers, breads, and ready-to-eat cereals, or all of the above? Very good. Y'all are so smart. I'm going to end that poll. And the correct answer is C, all of the above. When an infant is developmentally ready, providers are required to provide fruits and vegetables, breast milk or formula, and a meat alternate at meal times. At snack, and enriched grain items such as a bread can be served instead of a meat or meat alternate. Okay. So now we're going to take a few minutes just to talk about our infants. Remember, with our infants, they're now into 2 different food groups, our age groups. I'm sorry. There is the birth through 5 months, and then there's 6 to 11 months. So the great thing about now is that you introduce the solid foods when they're developmentally ready. So you will determine that by working with the parents and working with the doctors for that. So infants are considered developmentally ready to begin eating solid foods, generally around 6 months of age, but sometimes there are babies that are ready before that, and then some that are premature that may not be ready until they're after they're 6 months of age. They need to be able to sit up with support. They'll move their tongues up and down. They'll swallow soft foods without choking. They can drink with a cup with assistance, and they reach for food and open mouth when food is near. Then you know that they're getting ready to start those solid foods. And we always start with the cereals. So we want to start with the iron fortified infant cereal, and then we will introduce fruits and vegetables. Okay, so let's take a look at the meal patterns. They look like this. You'll notice that the portion size are listed in ranges of 0 to 2 tablespoons for fruits and vegetable, and 0 to 4 tablespoons for meat or meat alternate, grains, and iron fortified infant cereals. Now, what does that mean when you're serving foods to an infant? It means that you can start small when you're introducing a brand new food to an infant, maybe just a bite or two. Once the child is familiar with the food and is regularly eating it, you'll need to provide the full amount, up to 4 tablespoons. The baby does not have to eat the full amount for that meal to be credible. And as remember, there's no whole grain rich requirements in the infant meal patterns. So I know that kind of throws people off sometimes, that it says 0, but what they mean is that you still have to introduce something. So just, a bite, it's just say, 1 bite to 4 tablespoons. So also keep in mind that infants do not need to be fed on the same time schedule as our older children. They dictate their own feeding schedule. And finally, always follow the wishes of the parents when determining which foods to give to the infants, like which ones to start first. Typically start with the cereals and then with the vegetables before the fruits. But whatever the parents and the doctor decide what's best for that child, that's what you would follow. Okay. So here, let's look at an example. So in some cases, there are several foods that you may offer to meet the food components. So you can look at this in the table. For example, under the grain, meat, or meat alternate components, you can have 0 to 4 tablespoons of infant cereal, meat, fish, poultry, whole eggs, cooked dry beans or peas. And then it says or 1 to 2 ounces of cheese, or 0 to 4 ounces of cottage cheese, or 0 to 4 ounces of yogurt, or a combination of those above. Okay. We encourage that they keep them on the infant cereal as long as possible. But once they get older, a lot of times when they're 10, 11 months of age, they don't like the cereal anymore and they want to eat more solid foods. And that's when it's okay to do the yogurt, the cheeses, other meats that you may be serving to the older kids. But I would keep them on the cereal as long as possible. Okay. Okay. Now that was for breakfast. Now this is for lunch and supper. The same thing, we have to have the infant, the breast milk or the infant formula. Then you have to have the grain or the meat alternate. So just like breakfast, the breast milk and iron fortified infant formula, infant cereal, meat or meat alternate, and vegetable and fruit or both. And as you can see, the serving sizes are the same. So all of the main meals, breakfast, lunch, and supper, are the same for infants. Okay. And now snack. This is what the snack looks like. There are breast milk or iron fortified infant formula, grains, and vegetables and fruits or both. This is different from breakfast, lunch, and supper. At a meat or meat alternate is not an option at snack. At snack only, certain grains may be offered. So this is where you can do those ready to eat cereals like, I just skipped again. Like Cheerios and bitter biscuits and puffs and things like that the babies like. So grains in the infant meal patterns, iron fortified dry infant cereal, breads and crackers, and ready to eat cereals. Grains served must be made with a rich or whole grain meal or flour. Ready to eat breakfast cereals and infant cereals that are not iron fortified are also credible. There's no whole grain rich requirement, remember, for the infants. Ready to eat cereals include flakes, rounds, and puff cereals that older babies can pick up and eat. Just make sure that you stick with the same sugar limits as you do as your older kids, that 6 grams of sugar per serving. And it also must be iron fortified. Some of the ready to eat cereals can be choking hazards, so be careful with those. You want to stay away from the ones that have nuts and dried fruits and things in them, and just stick to those like Cheerios and Kix that will dissolve in their mouth. Okay. You all should have a copy of this Feeding Infants in the CACFP guide. We gave these out last year. If for some reason that you do not have a copy and you would like one, just let us know. They're really nice. I was able to order these from Team Nutrition. This is what they look like. And we can also, we can mail you one, but we could also have Mona or Amy, bring one out when they come to do your next review. So just let us know if you're in need of one of these. This guide is a go-to resource to understand the CACFP infant meal pattern. Each baby in your care has his or her own eating abilities. This is because babies grow and develop at different rates. This guide contains information on how to offer meals that are reimbursable. You'll also find this guide as a resource that you can use to start a conversation with parents, because there's like different letters and things that you can talk to, checklists that you can share with families. So like I said, this is a great resource. If you don't have one, please let us know and we'll get one to you. Okay. So developing positive relationships with parents is a critical, as you know. Okay, Teresa, you'd like one? All right, thank you. I'll put that down. If don't make me a note, I'll free it. Okay. So developing positive relationships with a parent is critical to providing the best care possible for their babies. Frequent communication is one way to foster this relationship. The Feeding Infant Guide contains a number of tools participants can use to start the conversations. There's also several parent handouts. As a best practice, you can use these handouts to communicate with parents on a variety of topics, such as babies' eating habits and developmentally readiness. So all of these handouts are free to download from USDA Team Nutrition website, and here it is. And then also we have copies of that. If you need one, we can bring one to you. Okay. Laura, I guess it keeps telling me I need to move on. I will put your name down that you would also like a Feeding Infants Guide. Okay, goal. All right. Very good. All right, we're going to keep going. Okay, our next question is, please contact our office if A, your home will be closed for any reason, B, you make any changes to your program, or C, all of the above. So I'm going to launch this poll. Let's see, it's number 6. So if you'll take a moment to click on which one you feel is the best answer. I didn't. Very good, very good. So the answer is C, all of the above in that poll. Please contact our office if your home will be closed for any reason or if you make any changes to your program. All right, the next one. Number 7, true or false? If serving pre-plated meals, some meal components can be saved for later once the children have finished their entrees. Is this true or is this false? Launch the poll. Okay, there we go. So please click if you feel that that's true or that's false. Okay, very good. I'm going to end that poll. Looks like y'all got that correct. It's false. All meal components must be served at the same time, both in pre-plated meal service as well as family style. Okay, here's the next question. To claim reimbursement for your own children, you must qualify for blank rates based on your income eligibility. Census Bureau, SNAP, or Tier 1. Number 8. launch this poll. Hallie? I haven't heard. Very good. Is it Census Bureau, SNAP, or Tier 1? Okay, anyone else? All right, I'm going to end that one. The answer is C, Tier 1. A provider may be reimbursed for her own children by qualifying for Tier 1 rates. A maximum of 2 meals and 1 snack, or 2 snacks and 1 main meal per day may be reimbursed. So remember, when claiming your own children, we need a copy of your income form in our office. So if you do claim your own children, this is what the income form looks like. And it is updated each year. So just make sure that you have this filled out and send a copy to Melissa, so that way you can identify your own children, you can claim them and get the Tier 1 rates. All of our homes now are getting Tier 1 rates for their other children based on our schools. So that's great. Any questions about that? Okay. The next one, providers must serve whole grain food items in child and adult care food program, A, at every meal, B, once per day, or C, twice per day. This is number 9. Lunch poll. There we go. So is it at every meal, once per day, or twice per day? Very good. Looks like the most of you got that one correct. The correct answer is B, once per day. Under the updated CACFP meal patterns, a whole grain food item is required once per day. Please make sure that you indicate on your menu which food item you're claiming as a whole grain with a WG beside it. So when you write down for snack today that you had goldfish, then put a WG beside it. So Melissa will know that those are whole grain goldfish, and that's what you're claiming as your whole grain for the day. Now, for those of you who said twice per day, that is best practice. Best practice is twice per day, but you're only required to serve once per day. Very good. So a whole grain makes a difference. In the CACFP, grains served at one meal or snack every day must be whole grain rich. Whole grain rich, at least half of the grain ingredient in a food are whole grain, and any remaining grain ingredients are enriched, bran, or germ. Required for child and adult only. We've already kind of talked about, not for infants. Okay. Here, this slide lists some foods that are whole grain rich. If you serve these foods, you know what you're serving can be counted as whole grain rich. These foods are just examples of some whole grain rich, and there are other whole grain foods that are not on this list. You can always contact us if you have any questions, whether something is whole grain rich or not. So here's some examples: the oats, the brown rice, wild rice, quinoa, any whole wheat breads and buns and graham crackers that are whole grain, whole wheat macaroni and spaghetti. All these things are considered. And in the past, at our trainings, we've really gone through, what are some, all these different products that are whole grains. And I showed you how you can go through and determine whether it's whole grain or not. We still have some handouts on that. So if you're having trouble determining what's whole grain and you would like some more technical assistance on that, please let us know. And the main thing I would say, if you have a question, don't hesitate to call. We're here to serve you. Call, email, and just ask those questions. And we would much rather you call and ask a question than claim something that's not credible. Okay. All right, moving on. The areas of civil rights and compliance, civil rights compliance for family daycare home providers. Child and adult care food program must be annually trained on civil rights. The goal is equal treatment for all applicants and participants, knowledge of your rights and responsibilities, and elimination of illegal barriers that can prevent or deter people from receiving benefits, and then just dignity and respect for all. I really don't have to worry about this with any of y'all. I think y'all all do a great job. But some of the things that our state does require is that you have a Justice for All poster, and you have this posted inside of your where the parents would come in. Now, if they're coming into your living room, it's fine for you just to have like an 8.5 by 11 sitting there. If you do have a board, a parent board, then our separate, room for your home, for your parents to come in, I would recommend having a poster. Let me grab mine so you can see. Oops, it's like stuck. So I have this hanging on the wall in our training room. This is what it looks like. So if you do not have the newest updated poster, please let us know. And like I said, you can have it framed, or you can just hang it on your bulletin board. And this is the first thing that we're required to look for when we come into your home, is that you have this posted when the children are present. Also, a non-discrimination statement. Let me show you what. Okay, here's the poster. This is a non-discrimination statement. You need an updated poster. Okay. And I'll make sure that Amy and Mona have these when they come out to do the review. So, but also just let me know, and I'll let them know that you need one. So this is non-discrimination statement that needs to be posted on anything at least once in your center or home. And then if you give out anything, it's supposed to be posted. If you like give out a book, but if it's just like one page, then you can just put this institution is an equal opportunity provider, like at the bottom. Okay. This is the building for the future. This is it's just on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. This is from the state of Arkansas. And it says this daycare receives support from CACFP to serve healthy meals. And if they have any questions or concerns, they can call us, and they can also learn more about it by going to the fsn.usda.gov. We have this in English as well as Spanish. We have a handout about about building for the future. And so if you need these for your families, just let us know. The last thing is you're required to do is hand out information about WIC. These come out new every year, and I just got the newest updated one from my contact at WIC. So if you need this, I probably will go ahead and just email this one out to everyone, because it's brand new. So every year they come out with the new income guidelines for WIC. So you're just required to provide information about the program to your families. Okay. So there you go. Okay. Any questions about any of that? Okay. I don't see any questions. Let's see. Is the graham cracker Scooby-Doo snacks whole grain? I was told it is not. I will have to look at that. I do know that they're credible. They're credible, just as a graham cracker. If they count as a whole grain, I'm not positive. I will have to look. They do have whole grain in them, but I can't remember if there's enough to count it as a whole grain. I will look into that, and I will get back with you. So let me ask. Scooby, make me a note because I'll forget. Scooby snack whole grain. Okay. Thank you for the question. So we're here for you. Please don't hesitate to contact us. Melissa's email is homes@ar-children.com. Mine is Nicole@ar-children.com. This is our new local phone number and our 1-800 number. This is our new address. And if you're ever in Little Rock, we're out in West Little Rock off of Highway 10 in the ranch. We would love for you to come by and say hello. We're here from 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Hope to be able to have some in-class training soon. This is our new fax number and our website. So please don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions about anything. We're here for you. Okay. All right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is combination and convenience foods. Okay. My notes. All right. We're going to talk about CN labels. And this is one of those things that it's more difficult for family daycare homes. And I'm so sorry that it is. But it's harder for y'all to find things with CN labels. Remember that a CN label is a product label containing a statement that clearly identifies and verifies the contribution of the products in it. So it's going to tell you like how much of the product is meat and how much of the product is bread. And this is really important when you want to claim like chicken nuggets, or if you want to claim a corn dog, or a ready-made frozen pizza, those things that have more food items, because you have no idea how much of that product is meat and how much of the product is bread without the CN label. Okay. Typically these labels are found on products purchased from a food distributor or a Sam's, or hopefully maybe Costco. We're about to get a Costco here in West Little Rock. So those may have them, but this is what it looks like. But they are harder to find in your smaller stores. But I will tell you that a lot of them are available online. And if you can get a product statement on them, which looks like a product formulation statement, which looks like this, as long as you are buying the exact product that is listed on the formulation statement every time, then this will count as well. Everything from Tyson has a CN label or a product formulation statement. A lot of the Members Mark from Sam's and Walmart, they have started providing these formulation statements as well. Things like State Fair corn dogs do, Gordon's fish sticks do, just to name a few that I know of. If you know of any great ways to get CN labels, please let us know in the chat so we can share with all the attendees if you have any places that you get your CN labels. Remember, we just have to have it one time. So if you buy those Tyson Dino Nuggets, and you just have to have one label, it's going to protect you for every time that you serve them. Just make sure every year I would go through your labels to make sure that that you have them and they're updated, because they can expire. So watch that. They are dated. Okay. Do we have any questions about CN labels, about product statements? Remember to always put a CN on your production records to let Melissa know that you have a CN label for those chicken nuggets and you're wanting to count that chicken nugget as a meat and as a bread. So are there any questions about these? Looking to make sure there wasn't any Q&A or in the chat. How many of you serve products with CN labels? One does have one hand raised, 2 hands. Okay, good. 3 hands. Awesome. 4 hands. Well, could one of y'all like maybe post in the chat, where do you get your CN labels products? Do you get them from Sam's? Do you have them from a distributor that delivers to you? Do you use Oh, what I get, what's the one that will deliver to your house? One. Okay. Walmart or Kroger. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Finally, I wanted to talk about is if you are serving homemade combination foods like chicken noodle soup or homemade pizza, you can provide credit and information by creating a recipe. Recipes provide necessary information like how much of the particular product goes into a dish and how many servings it makes. So you can find lots of recipes. This is the Provider's Choice is a great place that I have shared recipes with you before. There also you can get them on the USDA website. Just make sure that if you serve something that is homemade, that you put HM beside it on your production records, and then you have a recipe that you could show during a review. So like if we showed up and you were serving these meatballs today, then you could show Amy or Mona a copy of the recipe. CN labels are only needed if we claim it for both. Example, if we want to add a grain to chicken nuggets, so we still need a CN label. Yes, unfortunately you do. The reason is even though you don't want to count the grain, you just want to count the meat, you don't know how much meat you're serving. So the CN label will tell you how many nuggets you have to serve to give that amount of meat. So yes, you still have to have a CN label, even if you're not going to claim it for both, unfortunately. Okay, good question though. Let's see who over here. Any other questions? Let's see, y'all got, a lot of you have got things at Sam's. Very good. Okay, now I want to tell you about Susie's crazy day. So I'm going to read you a really funny story. Okay. And this is about food safety. So as I read about Susie's crazy day, you can comment in the chat if you can spot any slip ups that she has made, any mistakes that she has made. So it's pretty funny. Okay. So Susie, she was in a big hurry. It was time to fix lunch and her two older children, but she still had, okay, let me start over. It was time to fix lunch for her two older children, but she still had to unpack the groceries from their early morning trip to the store and fix meals. Luckily, the baby was asleep, so maybe she could get the two boys fed before the baby woke up. For the second time, Susie started unpacking bags when she heard a big crash. Susie got the package of chicken on the counter just as Billy and Bobby came charging in. Uh-oh, the dog was loose and came bounding in with them. Susie couldn't get anyone to settle down. Food, she thought. Food is the answer. She grabbed the cold cuts that had thawed on the counter. The cutting board and the knife was out of the sink. Some bread and put the sandwiches together. She took the grapes out of the grocery bag. The grapes and the sandwiches went on the table. She sliced tomatoes and lettuce on a cutting board for the small salad and piled it into the bowl. Let's see, milk to drink. Their sippy cups were in the fridge, but which one belonged to which kid? Never mind, no one was sick, and it's just all family germs, right? Wah, the baby must be starving. Susie grabbed the morning bottle, dumped the leftovers, and quickly refilled it with formula and water. In her rush, she dropped the lid. It did a few somersaults across the floor, landed underneath the table where Fido gave it a sniff and a lick. Oh, Fido, no. Mommy, look, exclaimed Bobby. What's that dripping on the floor? Yuck, it was the chicken package off the counter. No time for the baby's bottle now. But where was the pacifier? Susie grabbed the dish rag out of the sink. There was a pacifier under the dish rag. She quickly cleaned the counter and floor, tossed the dish rag, the package of chicken into the sink, and gave the baby his pacifier. Much better, she thought. Why did I leave the chicken on the counter anyway? The dog could have gotten it. After the boys finished their lunches, Susie changed the baby's diaper and settled herself and the baby into the rocking chair. As he started to drink his bottle, Susie sighed, "Thank goodness, a moment of peace." Susie was quite pleased with herself. She handled one catastrophe after another. Gazing at the baby, she thought, "Good for me. Even after that, I managed to keep everyone happy and safe." Or were they? So that was kind of a funny story. What did you see? Yes, lots of cross-contamination. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Anything else? Germs from the dog, licking stuff. The chicken dripping. Yeah. What else? The fact that Susie never stopped to wash her hands. She used the same cutting board to slice lettuce, tomatoes, grapes, all of that. Anything else? Pacifier underneath the dish rag. Yeah. Ugh, gross. Oh, and the fact that she did not wash out the bottle and sterilize the bottle. She just poured it out and made, groceries left out too long. So they probably are over the 40 degrees temperature. Yeah, she didn't wash anything, not even her hands. Yeah, using a dish rag that was already used. That's just gross. So she made a lot of mistakes. So we're going to jump into our food safety training. If you've ever had the unfortunate experience of having food make you sick, you'll know how important this next section is. It's not something you would wish anyone else to experience, and certainly not the children that are in your care. Foodborne diseases are transmitted to humans through food, and food can be unsafe through contamination. So contamination means that introduction of unwanted, harmful substances into food. There are three main ways that food can become contaminated. It can be biological, which is microorganisms like viruses, bacteria, and parasites. And we'll focus on this type of contamination in our training, but there's also chemicals, so like chemical I'm sorry, I'm getting tired. Contaminants, including products like cleaning solutions or bleach. And then physical hazards like glass or metal that gets into your food. Okay. So we're going to look at this. Certain foods such as meat, poultry, shellfish, eggs, leafy greens, and cut fruits and veggies are most likely to become contaminated. While most foodborne diseases are short-lived and don't require treatment by a doctor, young children are at high risk because their immune systems are still developing. Children under the age of 5 are 3 times more likely to go to the hospital if infected with salmonella, and the side effects of food poisoning like diarrhea and vomiting are particularly dangerous in young children. Personal hygiene habits like washing your hands and staying home or keeping your child care closed when you are sick are 2 of the most important ways you can protect the children in your care from illnesses. All right. It's time to show off what you already know about food safety. We're going to play food safety factor myth. Okay. So when the poll appears, I want you to click fact or myth. And there's no winners or losers, and you can keep scores if you would like. So let's get started. So our first question is, freezing meat kills bacteria. So I'm going to put the poll up, and you're going to click either fact or that is a myth. Fact or myth. Very good. A few facts, mostly myth. All right, we're going to close that. The answer is myth. Keeping meat and poultry freezing doesn't kill bacteria. It only inhibits their growth. So any microbes that were already present on the meat will begin growing once the meat thaws. Cooking meat to the correct internal temperature helps ensure that all of those germs, bacteria are killed. Okay. Look at the next one. If it tastes or smells okay, then it's safe to eat. Is this a fact or myth? Fact or myth? If it tastes or smells okay, it's safe to eat. Know what grandma always said? Very good. Looks like most everyone got that one correct. The answer is myth. The flavor of food isn't always affected by the germs. Even a small bite of food that has been contaminated could contain millions and millions of bacteria. Okay, so that would be a myth. All right, next one. Fact or myth? Relaunch. There we go. Meat and poultry do not need to be washed prior to cooking. Is this a fact? They do not need to be washed, or that's a myth? I actually got this one wrong the first time that I did this. So this is actually true. It's actually fact. There's no need to rinse your meat or poultry items before they are cooked. In fact, washing actually increases the risk of cross-contamination and spreading germs to ready-to-eat foods, your kitchen utensils, and your surfaces. So there's no need to wash your chicken before you cook it. Okay, next one. Fact or myth, as long as it is in the refrigerator, food should be considered safe. Is this a fact or a myth? As long as it is in the refrigerator, food should be considered safe. Very good. Looks like everybody's got this one correct. Very good. In poll. That is a myth. Bacteria thrives in a temperature between 41 degrees and 135 degrees Fahrenheit. Be sure to check your refrigerator to make sure it's set at or below 40 degrees. Okay, very good. Y'all did a great job. Awesome. So thank you so much for participating. I really do appreciate it. Now that we've talked a little bit about some facts and myths related to food safety, let's dive in and learn a little bit more about what can cause food to become unsafe. There are three main categories of disease-causing pathogens: bacteria, viruses, and parasites. Most common foodborne diseases are caused by bacteria, such as Salmonella, Listeria, E. coli. Viruses like norovirus can live in any food. They don't need and they don't need a potential hazardous food environment to survive. So that's one of those really scary viruses that have been found on cruise ships and stuff. Most foodborne illnesses present with abdomen cramps, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Depending on the pathogen, symptoms can appear as quickly as 30 minutes after the child has eaten or as late as several days after consuming a contaminated food item. Foodborne illnesses sound pretty yucky and awful, doesn't it? I'm sure that if you or any of you have experienced it, you would say that once is enough. So luckily, preventing foodborne diseases comes down to a few simple practices. Well, the most important thing, wash your hands, right? And now we're very acquainted with all of this with with COVID that we really need to teach our kids how to wash their hands and wash them properly. So we want them to really get them wet. We want them to lather them with soap. We want them to scrub for at least 20 seconds. And one way you can do this is by singing happy birthday. Sing that twice and make sure that they scrub the backs of their hands between their fingers. Make sure that they get their wrist and their fingernails, all of those things. Do any of y'all have any songs or anything that you do to teach your kids how to wash their hands properly? I know some of you sing that, wash, wash, wash your hands together. So anything else that you'd like to share about washing your hands? Sing the ABCs. Very good. Very good. So we know as adults that it's very important to wash our hands, but it's harder for children to understand what washing it actually does because they can't see these germs. So here's an activity that you can do with your kids. It's really fun. It's very quick and easy to do. You need a shallow bowl with a cup of water, some grease-fighting dish soap, and black pepper. Simply pour the water into the bowl and sprinkle the black pepper on top of the water so it completely covers the surface. Then put a dot of dish soap on each child's fingers and have them lightly touch their fingers to the surface of the water. They will see that the soap immediately breaks the surface of the pepper, which is a great way to help kids understand how soap helps keep away the germs. So the bits of, so you teach them that the bits of pepper represents those germs that we can't see. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this activity. If something that you would try with your kids, or have you tried something else to kind of teach them, especially with COVID? Y'all can put those comments in the chat so everyone can see if there's anything that you do to teach your kids about washing their hands and about germs. Anything? Okay. You'll definitely do this idea. Good, cute activity you will try. Awesome. Okay, here's some times that we should especially be careful about washing our hands when children arrive. The first thing you should do as soon as they come in, go wash your hands. Go wash your hands. You know, and I would recommend that you actually have them go do it with soap and water. I know since you're at a home, it makes it a little bit easier. Daycare centers, they may just, each child comes in and they'll use hand sanitizer. But studies have shown that it's much better just to have water and soap to wash your hands. When you're preparing, serving, or eating food, when you're handling clean dishes, between food preparation tasks, like switching from preparing ready to eat foods to raw meats. And then you want to wash your hands after you use the restroom, helping children washing their hands, changing a diaper, cleaning surfaces, or touching your pets or your garbage. Do you have any tips that you have about doing hand washing with your kids? Oh, cool. There's a book about the invisible germs that you share with your kids. Very good. Anything else? Okay, very good. So now that we've talked a little bit about how food can make us sick, let's find out why some of the foods can be hazardous. As we've learned, foods such as meat and poultry, dairy products, eggs, certain fruits and cut leafy greens could become contaminated with bacteria that cause disease if not stored and cooked properly. It's our job when we're preparing food to make sure that we do not accidentally put food at risk for becoming contaminated. To introduce you to how pathogens grow on certain foods, meet Fat Tom. It's just a little acronym, Fat Tom. So Fat Tom is a handy mnemonic device to help you remember foods that may be at risk for causing foodborne illnesses. So the F stands for food. Protein-rich foods attract bacteria like meat, poultry, fish, melons, and sprouts. The A stands for acid. Acidity, bacteria thrives in neutral to slightly acidic conditions, like meat and cheese. You've probably noticed that bacteria and mold rarely grow in very acidic foods, such as citrus and vinegar. The lower the pH, the higher the acidity. Time. You want to remember the 2-hour rule. Bacteria grows quickly near room temperature. The longer high protein foods sit at that temperature, the greater their chance that bacteria are multiplying. Limit the time to less than 2 hours. So that's really important. As soon as you get back from the grocery store, you need to get all of those things into the refrigerator or the freezer as quickly as possible. Enlist some of your kids to help you, but you need to not let those things sit out very long. Okay. Temperature is the T, the next T. The danger zone is between 41 and 135 degrees Fahrenheit. The optimal condition for germs to grow and quickly reproduce. Keep those foods refrigerated until it's time to cook, and cool hot foods to 41 degrees or less within 4 hours, or below 70 degrees within 2 hours. Okay. The O is oxygen. Most bacteria need air to grow and multiply. Canned foods eliminate these bacteria because they're free from any oxygen. This is why they're called shelf stable. However, some canned items are stored improperly and can cause growth of rare bacteria. Home canning items, that's why home canning items are not credible in the CACFP. And the last letter M is moisture. The higher the moisture content of the food, the more susceptible it is to the bacteria developing. That's why dried foods like jerky, dried noodles, and crackers are less likely to attract bacteria. Foods like meat, produce, and cheeses are higher in water and more likely to attract bacteria. Okay, now I want to use the information that you just learned, and I have another funny story. I'm going to read this to you, and I want you to look for some of the things that you just learned about. It's a beautiful summer day at the children at the ABC Childcare are getting ready for an outdoor picnic lunch. That morning, provider Jordan is busy getting a head start on preparing the lunch menu. She's proud of herself for remembering to take the frozen raw chicken breast out of the freezer the night before. It's been defrosting on a cutting board on the counter overnight. Everyone loves a good chicken salad. She grabs a bag of potatoes from the pantry and moves the chicken out of the way so she can use the cutting board. She notices that some of the juices from the chicken have leaked out onto the cutting board and quickly wipes it up with a rag. She begins chopping the potatoes for the potato salad when one of the infants starts to cry and needs a diaper change. She quickly changes the diaper and returns to the kitchen just in time to see the cat licking the chicken on the counter. What a pest, and quickly rinses the water. A quick rinse with water will do the trick, she thinks. Jordan puts the chicken in the oven and rinses the cutting board with water. She grabs the container of strawberries and puts in a dusty old cooler that she pulled out of the basement, ignoring the cobwebs that have accumulated in the bottom of it. We're running behind schedule, she thinks. As soon as the chicken and potato salad are finished cooking, she quickly packs them into the cooler with an ice pack, hoping the hot chicken won't melt it too much. Then she and the kids are off to the park for their picnic. Oh, well, we'll be eating in 3 hours anyway. We should be just fine. No need to panic. So if you'd like to share any ideas in the chat. if you can identify any potential food safety issues. So obviously there's a lot. Leaving the chicken out all night and then moving the chicken and putting the potatoes on it. Everything is wrong. I agree, Miss Gwen. Everything is wrong. So here are some of the things. There's a lot going on here with Jordan's picnic panic. So let's see how you did. Here's some of the things that she did wrong. Cross-contaminate, it's just that is just so gross and yucky. I wouldn't want to eat anything in her picnic. And this is one reason why we do not recommend that you do picnics for lunch, because it's so difficult to move your foods and to do all that. And you also need to make sure that if you do have a picnic outside of the home, that you have that okayed with your licensing specialist and with us. But if you just, I would say, you know, have your lunch and then go to the park, or go to the park and then come back and have your lunch, where you can have it in a good, without having all of these issues. So thank you. Thank you, Ms. Vicky. Thank you. It's very gross. So remember the poll that you took way back at the very beginning of the training when I asked you what you thought would be the most dangerous foods? Turns out it's a trick question. They can all be dangerous. So it didn't matter which one you chose, you were correct, because they can all be dangerous under the correct conditions. Though I'm not sure about you, but I won't be trying any of these fish anytime soon. Do you see that? So here we go. We've got the internal temperature of the fish needs to be at 145 degrees. The poultry, 165, ground beef, 160, pork, 145. And those casseroles and leftovers need to be up to 165. I think that that's like the worst one on the list, but any of them can be bad if they're not at the right temperature. So please make sure that you're cooking your food items to the correct temperature. I'll leave this here for just a second. So if y'all need to write this down or take a screenshot of it. And then I'm sure that most of you remember the salmonella outbreak in spinach from a few years ago. And you may be wondering, is it safe to serve fruits and vegetables from my local farmer or from my backyard garden? And yes, not only are local grown foods healthy and full of nutrients, but they also are CACFP best practice. So food from the farmer's market, farmer's stands, or for the community support agriculture are 100% safe to serve the children in your childcare. Like all other fresh produce, simply wash them under running water before preparing or cooking. You don't have to use any of the special sprays. Scrubbing with a brush is recommended for veggies with tough outer peels like carrots, potatoes, and squash. So with a show of hands, how many of you do use your local farmers markets, or you grow your own fruits and vegetables? We've got 1 or 2, 3, 4. Awesome. Very good. This is a great time of the year to take advantage of all those fresh fruits and vegetables that are available in Arkansas. Very good. Very good. All right. I'm going to lower your hands. And the next thing that we're going to talk about is handling breast milk safely. It's important to follow food safety practices when storing and preparing breast milk. No, breast milk is not a hazardous bodily fluid. It's completely safe to be stored and prepared in a home childcare setting. Remember, always wash your hands before and after handling breast milk. It's best practice to label each bottle with the infant's name and the date of the milk was expressed. Breast milk may be stored in the refrigerator, kept at below 40 degrees, remember. To warm breast milk, place it into warm water, not to exceed 120 degrees, and gently swirl it to mix it. Never put breast milk in the microwave or shake it to mix it. This can damage some important nutrients within the breast milk. Discard any unused breast milk left in the bottle 2 hours after the baby has finished feeding. Clean, disinfect the bottle and the nipples after use by boiling them in a pot for 5 minutes and then air drying. Okay. So what about storing your breast milk? It may be brought from home if kept cold or frozen during transport. However, freshly expressed milk can be stored hygienically at room temperature for up to 8 hours. But it's best to leave it in the refrigerator. Must be used within 48 hours. Use freshly expressed milk first. Keep fresh breast milk stored in the refrigerator at 40 degrees or colder. Now, frozen may be stored in the freezer for up to 3 months, and to thaw, run under cold water or store in the refrigerator. Never use a microwave to heat or thaw breast milk. And once it's thawed out, you need to use it within 24 hours and store in the refrigerator until it's all used. Okay. Are there any questions about breast milk? We highly encourage breast milk, and you can serve breast milk at any age. So if there's any moms that would like to continue to provide breast milk after the baby's turned a year old, it's okay. You can provide them with that. But at that point, I would warm it and then put it in a bottle. I mean, not in a bottle, put it in a sippy cup. They don't need a bottle after they're a year old. Any questions about that? No hands? Okay. So we've talked a lot about how to wash, prepare, and cook food to ensure its safety. Believe it or not, the way you store food in the refrigerator can also help reduce the risk of cross-contamination. Did you know that it's best not to wash fruits and vegetables before storage? Pre-washing produce could actually promote the growth of bacteria. Fruits and veggies should be kept refrigerated and away from any meat, fish, or poultry products. Raw, uncooked meat produce should be kept at the bottom of the refrigerator to ensure that they do not leak or drip onto fresh or ready-to-eat items. Yuck, if it's not used within a day or two, it's best to freeze those items. Store eggs in the main compartment of the refrigerator, not in the door. There's no need to wash eggs before using them. And finally, ready-to-eat items should be kept covered at all times. Freezing items can greatly extend the shelf life. Consider to use first in, first out method. Store newer items towards the back to make sure that you use the older items first. Be sure to label the dates of all foods and wrap them in plastic wrap, freezer bags, or foil. And always make sure that your refrigerator stays below 40 degrees and your freezer at or below 0 degrees. Okay. We've talked about keeping our food safe from the time it arrives at our home, preparing it safely by washing it correctly and avoiding cross-contamination, cooking it to the correct temperature. But even after a meal is over, we can ensure food safety by effectively cleaning and sanitizing our kitchen surfaces and our utensils. So to clean, to physically remove dirt and debris from a surface by scrubbing, washing, and rinsing. To sanitize is to kill 99.9% of germs using either heat or a chemical surface. I mean, a chemical like bleach. Washing dishes, make sure dishes are cleaned and sanitized, helps reduce the risk of spreading germs. Most dishwashers effectively clean and sanitize dishes. If you're washing by hand, follow the steps: wash, rinse with hot water, sanitize with sanitizing solution in a clean sink, and then air dry. So what cleaning and sanitize methods do you use? You can put in the chat box, do you have anything that you would like to share on how you keep things clean? I just recently, a few weeks ago, I downloaded TikTok, and I'm started watching Clean Talk, and oh my goodness, it's just like, you can just go on and on and on. It just goes from one to another to another. But I've learned a lot of neat tricks on using more natural things because I'm allergic to bleach. But I was just wondering, what are some of the things that that you do to make sure that everything is clean. And I use bleach water after I wash them, air dry. Very good. Can I serve fresh eggs from our chickens? Yes, you can. You can. I have chickens as well. So I love our fresh eggs. And yes, you can serve them. Good questions. So I've covered a lot in these last 30 minutes or so. So let's recap some of the key food safety tips. Wash your hands before and after handling food. Wash raw produce under running water before cooking or eating. Cooking food to the right internal temperature effectively kills most bacteria that causes disease. Separate potentially hazard foods from other foods in your refrigerator and use separate utensils for those items. Keep cold foods below 40 degrees and hot foods above 135, and minimize the time food spends in that temperature danger zone. And that's 41 degrees to 135 degrees. All right, any questions about that? Any comments that you would like to leave in the chat? Questions? Y'all are so quiet. My other group had lots of questions. All right, we're going to move on. How many, with a show of hands, how many of you are using our computer forms, either through Excel or through Adobe? Can you raise your hand? Awesome. 2 of you, 3, 4, 4 of you. Very good. So I assume the rest of you are still handwriting on the carbon paper and sending those in, mailing those in. Well, if you are still doing it by paper and you are interested in trying the Adobe, the great thing about the Adobe is it is a free program, so it's no cost to you to download. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on your iPad, you can do it on your computer, and then you can just kind of, click and fill it out, and then you can save it, and then you can email it, and then you can just email it to melissa@homes@ar-children.com. So we encourage you to try it. If you don't like it and you want to go back to the pencil and paper, that's fine too. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me or ask Amy. Amy's the one who set up the Adobe form, so she's a little bit more knowledgeable, but I know how to use it. So just let me know if you have any questions. And I really encourage you, if you haven't tried it, to try the Adobe forms. I think that once you try it and you learn how to use it, I think that you'll really love it. Okay. So what do we need to include in our weekly claims? We need to have an attendance form, and this is what a 5-day a week attendance form looks like. And this provider just serves breakfast, lunch, and PM snack. So you put your name at the top. And remember, with family daycare homes, we go by the owner's name. So it would be, Harris Nicole would be your name instead of, Miss Nicole's childcare or whatever you would name it. You need to list all the kids' names. Melissa would like if you did it by last name, because that makes it easier for her. So put those in alphabetical order, and then write their age and their average time in and out for that week. Now, make sure that if you do fill these out electronically and you've set this up, if there's any changes on time in and time out, that you update those, and also make sure you update their ages. I noticed that one of the ones that I looked at when I was checking when Melissa was out is that you had a month baby. So that was like 4 months old. And then I looked, and for the past 3 months, they had been 4 months old. So make sure that you update the ages. And then when you use the electronic forms, then you can just click breakfast click the lunch, click the PM snack, and it's going to make check marks and it's going to add those for you. If you use the Excel, it's going to put a number 1 and then it's going to add those for you. And then it'll give you a grand total for the week for your breakfast, lunch, and PM snack. And it'll also keep a running total for the month. And then the provider signature, if you have any trouble putting your signature onto your forms, let Amy know. You can send her your signature and she can attach it to the forms for you. And you can just have a master form with your signature that you can use. Make sure that you're saving these or you're printing them out, because remember, you need to keep these for 5 years plus the year you're working on. So you're sending them to Melissa, so we have a copy, but you need to make sure that you have a copy. I wouldn't save everything on just on your computer. Like, you can save it on your computer, but then I would also save it on the exterior thumb drive or in the cloud, or print it out and have yourself a paper copy. So that way, if something happens to your computer, you won't lose your forms. Are there any questions on how to fill this form out, your weekly count sheet? I think y'all all do a great job with this. The next one is your child menu form. This is what it looks like. Remember to put the name of your name and put the week, and then list the food items. So for breakfast, under milk, please tell us what type of milk. You can put, if you're serving whole milk and 1% milk and soy milk, you can put like a W/1%/soy, SOW. But just please list all the milks that you're serving. Fruits and vegetables, tell us what type of fruit, like it was bananas, it was sliced pears, it was cubed peaches, whatever it is. Bread or grains, please tell us what kind of bread. Indicate it with the WG if it's a whole grain. If it's a cereal, tell us what kind of cereal. If it's Cheerios, and then beside it, you put a WG because Cheerios are a whole grain. And then if you choose to serve a meat or a meat alternate, and remember, up to 3 times a week, please list what type of meat or meat alternate you're serving. For lunch, we have the milk, we have a bread or grain, a fruit and a vegetable, and a meat or meat alternate. Remember, you can serve 2 vegetables instead of a fruit, you can serve a fruit and a vegetable or 2 vegetables, just not 2 fruits. Okay. And tell us what type of fruit, what type of vegetable, what type of meat. If it is a meat with a CN label, make sure you put the CN beside it. If it's a homemade item, put an HM for homemade. And then for PM snack, remember, you just have to choose 2 different foods from 2 different food groups. And, your possibilities are endless. Just remember to stay away from anything that's considered a grain-based dessert because they're no longer credible in the food program. So are there any questions about filling out these forms? No questions? Okay, let's look at the infant one. This is the infant one. So for breakfast, remember, for your birth to 5 months, all they're required to have is formula or breast milk for all 4 meals. And then once they are developmentally ready, they need to have an iron fortified infant cereal and a fruit or a vegetable. For lunch and dinner, it's the breast milk, a cereal or a fruit, or a meat or meat alternate, and a fruit or a vegetable. And the same thing for dinner. And for snack, they need the formula, they need a fruit or vegetable, and a bread or a grain. Okay. Any questions about this one? Remember to tell us what type of cereal you're serving, and also remember to tell us what type of fruit or vegetable it is. Remember, when you're buying your fruits and vegetables, I would stick to those stage 1, stage 2 baby foods, because they're going to more likely be one item. I would stay away from the stage 3s because they're normally combinations of foods and they don't have CN labels to tell you how much of the product is meat, how much the product is bread, or how much of it's a vegetable and how much of it's a meat, that kind of thing. Okay. Any questions about those? Okay. So our reminders is to be organized. Okay. Never take your records out of your home. If Amy or Mona come out to do a review, you need to be able to show them the last 5 days of your records. If someone from the state comes out to do a review, they may want to look back. They can ask for up to 5 years. So please make sure that you keep your records in the home accessible, especially within that, the last month. Document your records every day after every meal. Don't let the day end without documenting your records. Now, if Amy comes out at lunchtime today and you haven't documented breakfast, we're not going to write you up for that. She's going to just remind you, make sure you get that filled out, before snack. But if she comes out and, like, say today's Thursday and you don't have any for the week, then that's a cause for corrective action. And we don't want to do corrective action on anyone. So please, it's very easy. Just keep those menus up to date and filled out every day after every meal. Okay. Maintain a copy of all your records and your receipts for 5 years plus the years we're working on. Remember that every dollar counts that you receive from us, and every dollar needs to be going back into your food program. You are a family daycare home, so we don't require you to send in your receipts to show us where all your money goes. But I want to let you know is that if you get visited by the state or someone from USDA, they might ask for proof of how you've spent your funds. So I created this little sheet to help track your monthly expenses. Now, how many of you use your nutrition calendars that we give out every year? Raise your hand if you, they look like this. Yes, very good. Thank you. Because these are not cheap. And my mom has always felt that these were very valuable. And so we're going to continue to provide these for you as long as we can. But what I have been told as far as family childcare is that if you are filling out this one doesn't have it in it. This one is just the calendar. I think I've given out all the ones that have the where you can keep up with your expenses. But if you keep up with all of your expenses in your calendar, and then you have a copy of all of your receipts and you give this to your tax person, then you have everything you need for your business. So it's just really important that you track your expenses. And some people say, well, what can I use my money for? Well, obviously food. And we want to see that you're spending at least 50% of your money on food. So if you received $1,000 this month, then at the bare minimum, you should be spending $500 on food. I would like for you to see, at least 75% of the money you receive from us on food. You can carry over up to 10% from the previous month. You can use it to buy paper products and kitchen supplies. If you do hire someone to come in and help you at meal times, a cook, you could do a cook salary. You could claim your mileage, like from driving to Sam's. If you had to, drive to Sam's and back, you could claim your mileage. It's up to 56 cents a mile this year. You could also do a capital expense. We ask that you don't take that all out of one check, but you could write it down like, okay, I need to buy a new stove. It's going to cost $1,000. I'm going to take, $200 out of every check until it's paid for. As long as you have a plan and you can show where the money is going, then that would be a capital expense. I would try to spend all of your money in those places before you look at those indirect costs. Indirect costs are very difficult to figure out, especially with a family daycare home, because you have to figure out the rent and utilities, where you prepare food and where you serve the food. But then it also has to be within your hours, because obviously when it's closed, it's your home. So I would save those till the very absolute end. Of course, yes, I can definitely send you a copy of this form. And I used to pay $25 for a keeper. So you love them. Very good. Yeah. So I love the calendars, and we will continue to provide those for you as long as we can. So the main thing is that you just need to make sure that you can show that all of your money that you receive from us is going back into your food program, because this is a reimbursement program and it's not one that you should be making any money off of. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is just some extra training ideas. If you need some more training, USDA has some training. The state of Arkansas has some webinars that they have posted that you can go and watch anytime. Team Nutrition has some wonderful ones. And then the next thing I wanted to tell you about was the food buying guide. Remember that the food buying guide is an essential tool. It's used to assist purchasing the right amount of food and purchasing it the most economically, and determining the specific contribution each food makes towards the meal pattern requirement. And ensures that meal provide necessary nourishment and meet program requirements for reimbursement. So I'm sorry. So this is what it looks like. The great thing about this tool is that you can go to the website to use it. You can also download an app for your phone, and it's called FBG through USDA. So you can find that on the App Store. I believe they have it for both, for the Apple and for the Android. So it's a great resource, like when you're going shopping, to know if this food is credible, how much you need to buy, that kind of stuff. And it's great for cooking. So like if you're going to have ground chuck today, well, obviously when you cook down that ground chuck, it's not going to be a whole, if you start with a whole pound, when you cook it, you're not going to have a whole pound. So it's going to help to determine how much you need to prepare to meet that. You use it on your Android a lot. Yes, great. That's awesome. Very good. And one of my favorite trainings that's out there is called 30 on Thursday. It's a training webinar. You can register for upcoming webinars, or you can watch previously recorded ones. They're great, just little 30-minute trainings, and they're great resources to use to train staff on a specific topic. So if you have someone, like you hire someone to help with the infants, and then you could send them to watch ones just specifically on infant feeding. So a lot of people want to know, what are our plans? Well, first of all, I want you to know that we're here for you. We are continuing to conduct on-site and over the phone reviews. Mona and Amy have both had their vaccines, and so they are feeling more comfortable being out and about. But please contact our office if you will be closed for any reason, and if you have any positive cases of COVID. I mean, I don't want to send them to your home if you have a positive case of COVID. We can just do over the phone, like this, like a Zoom, or if you have an iPhone, you can we can do face. You know what I'm talking about. We can like FaceTime. So our trainings may still look a little bit different. I was really hoping that we could do on group trainings, but I feel like that the risk is still a little high. And so I didn't want to require anyone to come here. So that's why I did these Zoom webinars. So I hope that you've enjoyed this. Please email me if you have any comments about training, like, well, I really like the webinar, or I liked it better when you just recorded yourself and put it on YouTube. I really would like to have an in-person training. So just let me know your thoughts and what you would like to see within the next year. I really would like to have some trainings here. I really would. And another thing that I'm planning on offering, starting probably in September, is 30-minute monthly training. So kind of like that 30 on Thursdays that CACFP provides. I am planning on doing that for our organization. I would like to do it every month and answer questions that y'all have. So I want you to send me questions. I would like for you to send me training topics. Like, I want to know more about this. I want to know more about serving meat or meat alternates for breakfast. I want to know more about CN labels. I want to know more about whatever you would like to know more about. And my plan is that I will have a topic. And I will share the topic, and then I will share a link like this, the webinar link for Zoom. And you can get on and we'll talk, and I'll share information for 20 to 25 minutes. And then I'll leave the last 5 to 10 minutes for questions and answers. And then I'll we'll see how this does. I will record it and I'll upload them to YouTube for those that can't join us live. My idea is to have it like on a Wednesday afternoon, like at 1 o'clock, like right after lunch, maybe when you've got the kids down for nap. So like from 1 to 1:30 or 1:30 to 2. Go ahead and comment in the chat if you like this idea, and let me know what days and time would be best for you. I would prefer not to do it, at 7:30 at night. I'd prefer to try to do them during nap time and then record them for those that can't join us live. And I'd prefer not to give up my weekends, but I'm still open to doing things on weekends and at night as needed, because I know that when you're busy with kids all day, you can't stop for 30 minutes and listen to me talk. So I understand. So please let me know if you like this idea. And what I would probably do is just require you to participate in 2 of the year. So if I start in September and I, do September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, so if I do it, I'll probably do like 10 months. So if I offer it for 10 months, then I would want you to try to get on and live and watch 2 of them, or watch 2 on YouTube. So that's kind of my idea, because I would like to be able to give y'all training throughout the year instead of it just being, this one time. So I'd like to be able to get, I love the idea. Anytime at nighttime around 1 is usually good. So that's what I'm thinking, 1 or 1:30. And I'm thinking like maybe Wednesday afternoons. So so just let me know if that will work for you. But I'm planning on starting those in September. So I'll definitely send out links and more information about that. And if there's anything else that you would like for me to do to help support you, it's very hard us being here and then y'all are all out and we don't get to be together in person. So please let me know if there's anything that I can do to help and to support and provide the training that you need. Okay. So any other questions, any other concerns? So as we're wrapping up this evening, I want to bring our attention back to the objective. So what was our objective? Participants will list 3 food safety practices that reduce the risk of contamination or foodborne illnesses. So I'll give you a minute, and I'd like for you to try to send me one. Can you? You can do it in the chat or the Q&A. Send me one food safety practice that reduces the risk of contamination or foodborne illnesses. So what will you take away with you tonight? So share anything that you've learned in the chat box, anything that you've learned, anything that you will take away for that. Anybody learn anything? Very good. We want to keep items cold under to 40 degrees, keep food items in the temperature, wash your hands before and after handling food. Washy, washy, washy. That's right. Washy, washy, washy. That's right. Very good. Keeping those temperatures, staying out of that danger zone. We want to stay out of that danger zone. Very good. Anything else? Well, I want to thank y'all so much for taking some time away on your Thursday night to meet with me. And so as we conclude this evening, I want to thank you and remember that as a childcare provider, your home is a safe place for children. In fact, to be licensed, you're required to do many things and make sure children are safe in your home. When we think of serving meals, we typically don't categorize it as a safety measure. We tend to think it more about nutrition. And that's usually what I talk about. I always talk about nutrition, but I want you to know that and we want kids to enjoy eating, but you can see what's important role you play to ensure delicious, nutritious, and safe meals. So please make sure that you complete the training checklist and email it back to our office no later than July 30th, 2021. And please email me with any questions, concerns, any feedback from this training. I didn't send out like a formal survey this time. So just email me with any feedback that you would like to give. If there's anything that you need me to send you, I did write down a couple, but if you don't receive it within the next week, please just remind me, say, hey, Nicole, you didn't send me that, and I'll get those out to you. And then we will send you a 3-hour training certificate for your time. And as soon as I get everyone's in, I will upload it to your PDR, and I'll try to have that done by the end of July so that you'll all have your PDR credit. And then you could check it and let me know to make sure that y'all all got your PDR credit. So thank you so much for being here. I'll leave it open if y'all want to chat amongst yourselves for a minute, or if you have any other Q&As, please share. If not, you're free to go. And thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed our time tonight. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Any questions? Any concerns? You're so welcome. Thank you for joining me. Thank you. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Laura. Y'all are all very kind.